Now, welcome to everybody who joined in on Zoom. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to use the chat between me, Abraham. We got Angie in the house as well as Nancy, who is joining us this year as our Creative Core Fellow from the Long Beach Arts Council. They're representing as well in the audience. And for everybody who is joining in on the live streams, either through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them, you can also use the chat feature there. So you can obviously send in a little comment, and I'll try my best to make sure that those comments get answered as well. In the meantime, if you want to join through Zoom, you can go to our website at distillarts.org/Conchas y Café zine, and you'll be able to register through Google Classroom and have access to all of the handouts. So yeah, welcome everybody. One more time, tonight is our orientation for Conchas y Café zine. We're trying to make Conchas y Café as accessible as possible. So we have obviously these multiple ways in which people can now join in. One of the ways, of course, is going to always be primarily through Zoom. And through Google Classroom, you will be getting the link on a weekly basis to the actual Zoom session, plus the handouts if we decide that we are going to be giving out handouts for any particular lesson or week. And the actual packet that is up on the screen right now, for those of you watching on the live stream on Zoom, this packet you can download at the moment. For anybody who just joined in on Instagram Live, you'll have to actually follow the link that is pinned in the comment section there. So, all right, here we go. For those who don't know what Distill Arts is, it's a nonprofit. It's an arts mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. And, most of you who are joining in today probably know me already. I'm Luis Antonio Pichardo, the founder and executive director of Distill Arts. I get asked a lot what DSTL stands for. It is, in fact, an acronym. It stands for Develop Skills and Transcend Limits Through the Arts. The main reason for me starting this organization now 10 years ago was because, people like me did not always have representation. And I feel like we still don't, in the arts. So it's really important that we tell our stories in our own voice, on our own terms. As it says here under the methodology section, it's really important that you use every tool in your tool chest. Part of what Conchas y Café hopes to do, though, is to add to that tool chest and to give you a reason to practice some of the tools that you might already have. So almost all of our programs culminate with some form of publication, and they also, feature elements of, providing coaching or feedback to individuals who are in the programs. So as much as possible, staff and peer review does get woven into any program that we offer. Now, again, if you have any questions about this or how this functions, I'll try to answer them through the session today. And this is going to be something that we'll be kind of developing a little bit more as we go. The feedback portion is really, really important. It's especially valuable to people who are just starting off or who are returning to writing after kind of a time away. One thing to note too is that this particular program, Conchas y Café zine, is bilingual. So all of the handouts are going to be typically translated. Aquí en la pantalla tenemos pues la introducción a Distill Arts en español para los que lo necesiten. Aunque hoy quizá voy a hablar más en inglés, este programa, como digo, sí es bilingüe y sí se ofrece en inglés y en español a la vez. So again, any questions, feel free to visit the website, download this particular handout once you actually register through Google Classroom, and we'll keep the show going. All right. Our program overview, of course, is, about Conchas y Café. I mean, that's the main reason for tonight. This year, for those of you who are longtime followers of Conchas y Café, you might notice that it is now a 15-week series. Before it was 10 weeks, then it went to 12 weeks, and now we're at 15 weeks. This time around, we're going to be basically following a semester system. So we're going to have a fall session and a spring session. Both of those sessions are going to be 15 weeks long. And each session is going to incorporate one additional session where we will be actually teaching you how to give feedback. So, for anybody who is, returning to Conchas y Café, you'll notice that some changes will be made this year to the format. And this is also another year where we are opening submissions to the general community. So it's not a requirement to attend all of the lessons, even though it is a huge benefit to you if you do. And if you do fully enroll in Conchas y Café Zine, the workshops, you will get the added bonus of having your work given feedback before the submission date. The other programs that we offer where we do have open calls for submission include Art Block, which is not only an annual zine, it's also a monthly podcast. The newest episode of the podcast actually was released yesterday. It's a lost episode from our very first year of trying to do a podcast, the DSTL Arts cast. You'll be able to find that on our website at distillarts.org if you want to take a quick view or listen using your favorite podcasting platform. We also have Artistic Zine. Artistic Zine is specifically for individuals who are neurodiverse. The zine is published once a year, and it also is themed, just like Art Block Zine. The difference between Art Block and Artistic Zine, aside from being specifically for neurodiverse artists, is that Artistic Zine is also open to people across the US. So if you know someone who is neurodiverse, who also practices art, they are more than welcome to submit work to us, whether they're living in LA or in any other part of the United States. Art Block Zine specifically is open only to individuals living in LA. Creative Impact is a program that we offer once a year that is social justice focused. We have different workshops that we will be teaching throughout the year. This year, our theme is transit in LA. So we're going to be kind of doing something a little bit different, a little bit new for the Creative Impact program. And that's actually where Nancy is going to be playing a bigger role as our Creative Core Fellow. But that said, the Creative Impact Program also supports our Poet Artist Development Program, which is where we have emerging artists from historically marginalized communities receive professional development as well as publishing opportunities through a one-on-one or small group mentorship. And, those are all other programs that we offer throughout the year. You can learn more, again, by going to our website. Y aquí tenemos la información en español. Y seguimos con Conchas y Café Zine, our goals and our commitment to you. So speaking for myself, Abraham, and Angie and Nancy, we are here to support you as writers, as artists. Conchas y Café Zine is basically inspired by our community. We want you to have the opportunity to tell your story through your own words. Again, we will be conducting this program twice a year with 15-week series that are going to be bilingual. You have the option of either writing in English or in Spanish or in any other language that you feel best suits your style, your technique. There is no specific limitation to the type of language you can use. Our goal is to publish 2 new issues of Conchas y Café Zine. That would be volume 9, issues number 1, which would be produced through the fall series, and issue number 2, which will be produced through the spring series. We're also committed to celebrating the release of each new issue with a form of a public reading. Because of the pandemic, we've gone to all virtual with Conchas y Café Zine, and it's going to basically stay this way from here on out, unless if the environment changes again for us. However, for the public reading, we are trying at this time to still do them in person here in LA for anybody based in LA. But depending on logistics, that might change in the future. So just kind of keep that in mind. But we do celebrate the release of every issue with our community, which includes you. It's also our commitment to you to provide constructive criticism on your work that you create through this program. We want to give you the full opportunity to have your work reviewed and given feedback on before you submit it for publishing. On the note of publishing work through us, with Conchas y Café zine specifically, it is, fully like copywritten and everything. However, you're only giving us a license to produce it in the zine and only in the zine. We don't necessarily, reproduce it in any other way. You do still retain the rights to your work if you submit work to our programs, to our zines. That's kind of like a blanket thing for all the different ones that we do. We do have expectations of our participants, which, they help us really to accomplish our goals of providing the workshops twice a year for 15 weeks and to produce the zines. Our expectations obviously, include you actively participating in the creation, editing, and submitting of your work, not just for review and critique, but it's also, for publishing, right? We can't produce a zine without your help. So, make sure that you are following along with the lessons. If you can attend all the lessons in a timely manner, or if you miss one, just know that all the lessons that we teach are going to be live streamed and they're also going to be recorded. So we will give you every opportunity that you can to stay caught up with the program, with the lessons. If you are participating completely in the program, as in you are enrolled through Google Classroom, you have, watched the orientation and you're good with everything that you see here, and you decide that you want to participate in the workshop element where you receive feedback, it's also important that you provide feedback to your companions in the class. All your compañeros in the class are here for the same reason as you, to improve on their writing. So we invite you to obviously, give feedback while also understanding that receiving feedback is equally as important for other people as it is for you. And, it's very important that we always encourage and promote a safe learning environment, free of judgment, bias, and prejudice. We're building safe spaces here. People that look like us often don't have that. So this space is a very sacred space. And we trust that all of you who are joining us today understand that, we want to maintain that. So, obviously, come with an open mind, come ready to learn, and come ready to share your personal experiences as well, because really we can't learn without being able to share our own experiences as well. And if you do want to participate in the workshop element of this, it's important that you dedicate the appropriate amount of time and effort outside of the classes. We meet every Tuesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The alternating Tuesdays are lessons, and the other ones are, workshopping days where we work in small groups. So, outside of the hour and a half on Tuesday nights, we do generally expect you to continue working on your writing in preparation for the publication of your work in one of our zines. And of course, we expect everyone to actively and openly communicate with us if you're part of our program. If you need help, if you have questions, that's what the Google Classroom is for. It's a way for us to be able to basically answer questions that pop up during the week. It's a way for us to communicate information about the program. But it's also a way for us to make sure that people are on track, right? We have deadlines. We're trying to publish multiple zines throughout the year. So, active and open communication is very important. If you find it difficult to communicate through Google Classroom, obviously you can always email us as well. And we try to work with you in as many ways as we can to support your production of new work for our zines. Does anyone have any questions so far from those of you joined in on Zoom? No. Appreciate all the little add-ons there that Abraham is asking. Yeah, this year we will have 2 cycles, each one consisting of 15 weeks. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. Any question is fair, right? And everyone has the responsibility of providing feedback and work. It's very important, absolutely. And be respectful to each other, right? So, it's just like any kind of school, I guess you could think of it in that way. But cooler because we're cool. All right. Gia, I see you raise your hand.
Yes. Hello. I'm glad to be back and see everybody.
Please, I have a pen.
Hi, Alana. How are you, honey? Good to see you. So my question is, and I kind of emailed you guys. I understand like splitting the workshops into two groups, but I also would like to hear I never get to hear the other group's poetry. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can share between the two groups.
Yeah, I saw your bit of feedback for us in email. I think for the purpose of being able to structure the breakout rooms, we might continue with just the this time we're going to have 3 different breakout rooms. Angie is going to be joining us, and also managing her own breakout group, if I remember correctly. But we might be able to shuffle things around a little bit and on occasion to be able to give you the opportunity to maybe present work with other people. But for sure, the readings that we are trying to organize as part of the release of each issue, that'll be definitely an opportunity for us to give everybody a chance to share their work with each other.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. If I understood your question, you're asking if the poems need to be long or short. Is that correct? The poems that you write for the zine can be whatever length you need them to be to communicate your message. So they don't have to be long, they don't have to be short, just whichever works for you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for asking. All right. So to continue on with the orientation here, our program components, as you can see, basically break down into 2 different components. The creative writing lessons, which every other week, beginning 2 weeks from today, they will be dedicated to teaching either, like a technique or just kind of analyzing some poetry and the way that other people have done it in the past, to then learn from there and try and basically explore the theme that we've selected for this time around. The theme for this series, this 15-week series, our fall 2023 session, is out of place. So we're going to be talking about what that means, right? What does it mean to feel out of place, or to, create things that are out of place for others, and what that can do for us as artists? So the creative writing sessions, those lessons, like I said, will be recorded. If you want to, fully enjoy the experience of being in Conchas y Café zine, I definitely encourage you to be on the Google Classroom, which you can register through our website at distillarts.org/Conchas y Café zine. For those who are watching on Instagram Live, you can find the link actually as the pinned comment. For anybody watching on the other live streams, so whether that's Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, you can find that as the first comment within the live stream session. And you can download the handouts. All that stuff is going to be all available through the Google Classroom. And then the alternate sessions, the week after, we will give you an opportunity to work with us in breakout rooms to have your work reviewed by us. There's nothing for next Tuesday. For next Tuesday, we're going to actually have a lesson on how to give each other feedback. So we're going to give you a lesson that kind of is going to cover some of the basics for how to read a piece of work, and come with notes that you can then provide for the person. It's really, really important that when we have a creative writing lesson, that you submit work no later than the Friday before the workshopping session. So That way we can have enough time as a staff, as well as, the compañeros that you have in your cohort, they will have enough time to be able to read your work and give you feedback on it. And again, this is being recorded. So for anyone who needs to leave today or doesn't have a chance to sit through the whole orientation, you can always revisit this on YouTube and through our Google Classroom later. But yes, we will have a lesson next Tuesday on just giving feedback, right? Techniques for approaching feedback. So those are the two main components. And again, we have these tools that we're using, Google Classroom and Zoom, as a way to make it work. As you see here, we have our calendar. So the first lesson that we'll be teaching is going to be on the 19th of September. And again, that'll be live streamed and recorded. Then your homework will be due on the 22nd to us. So a few days later, but ideally you would have part of the writing completed during that first session so that you just finish it up and email it to your cohort on the 22nd. And then on the 26th of this month, we will have our first workshopping session where you'll be able to provide feedback to others and receive feedback on your work. And we'll assign the cohorts after next week. Next week, again, September 12th, we're going to have a lesson on giving feedback and things to look for in other people's writing. And after that week, you will receive your cohort assignment. And yeah, another thing to note is that there will be no class on the 21st of November. That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So, we're going to give ourselves that little break. And then also the very, very last day to turn in work for publication is going to be the 19th of December. December 19th is going to be a very important day for anybody that is looking to submit work, either through their participation in the class or for anyone who is joining through the community. Again, Conchas y Café zine is open to anyone who wishes to submit to the zine using that theme of out of place. It is all going to be done through Submittable. On that last day, we will have kind of like an office hours session so that people can join in if they have questions or are having trouble using Submittable to submit their work. But Submittable is free. If you've done it before through our program, then obviously you'll be familiar with it. But again, December 19th is when submissions close. And the submissions will officially open beginning next week through our website. So, now that we're going through the actual, orientation, we're basically announcing the theme for the next issue of Conchas y Café zine and the submission portals. All right. So using Google Classroom and the Google Workspace. Again, Google Classroom is the main way that we will be communicating information. It's kind of a semi-public forum, so it'll require you to log in each time. You do not need a Google specific email address to use it. You can use any email address. Just remember, that is your Google profile. If you need to communicate with us directly, though, it's better to do so by email. And we'll provide you with our email addresses at the very end. Google Workspace is kind of like a whole set of apps that you can use, which includes Google Docs and Google Drive. This is going to be, generally speaking, the way in which we share the writing that you produce through the workshops. So rather than emailing it to everybody, you're going to be sharing using Google Docs. A thing to kind of understand about Google Docs is that it automatically saves to Google Drive. Google Drive is just sort of like, think of it like a universal flash drive or something like that. And Google Docs is like Microsoft Office, if you're familiar with Microsoft Office or Word specifically. So you can use a lot of the same functions that you see in Microsoft Word to copy and paste, to bold, to do italics. If you know the shortcuts on the keyboard, most of those shortcuts also work in Google Docs. If you're writing and you're using things like PDFs, that also works. You just upload it to Google Drive and share it away. Simple as that. I think everybody that's joined in right now has been here before with us. Does anybody need a quick review of how to use these? I'll take that as a no. Saves us a little bit of time then. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about it next week with a lesson on how to give feedback, but this is going to be the toolkit that we use. To get us started on the lesson for next week, we have here some tips on giving constructive criticism. The purpose of it, as you can see here, is to really give people an opportunity to grow in their writing. It's very important that you go beyond the average "I like it" comments. You're always welcome to like something. That's not a problem. If you like it, though, you need to be ready to say why. That is what really helps people. And, a way that you can do that is to provide detail, point out a specific section that you feel works really well. It's always also important to approach all the work that you receive with respect. It might be a different style. It might look different than what you produce, but it doesn't make it any less than, right? And if you do like it, again, just be ready to say why. The thing to remember is that we don't necessarily critique the content, like a word that maybe might not be familiar to you. In poetry doesn't mean that it's not a poetic word. If the poet uses it, it's for a reason. So we're not here to necessarily critique the content of what people are writing, but we're here to critique the form. So the way, the intentions that they have for using the words that they're using. The subject matter should generally be in line with what we are exploring as our theme, which is, again, out of place. So theme-wise, we can say, I don't know if this theme, is really there in that piece, but, this could be a way to talk about it a little bit more, right? You want to emphasize how effectively something is being communicated, if it's effective or not. Because in the end, there's no such thing as good art or bad art, only effective art. It's also helpful to refer to techniques, phrases, or moments that you recognize in a piece of writing or in a piece of artwork. If you see or if you notice that it is something that is important to it, then obviously, you can comment on that and you can say whether or not it's working for you. And when all else fails, it's always very easy to just give 2 examples of moments or phrases that people, are very much like hitting on the head, right? Hitting the nail on the head. If you like it, you can call them out, say, I really like this part and I really like this part, and finish off with that one thing, that one little spot where you feel like it can be improved, right? Because we can all benefit from having that one part where our questions are answered, right? It's also, for the person receiving feedback, very useful for them to be attentive and engaged all time. The entire time that they're receiving feedback. It's very important to be proactive in your listening. So what that means is, if you're listening, then you're not speaking, right? When it's your turn to have your work reviewed, try not to say too much either before, during, or after. Only if it's absolutely necessary to communicate something that maybe wasn't, communicated through the writing. Understand also that questions raised by your reviewers will be the similar kinds of questions that your audience will be asking, right? If one person feels it, another one might feel it too. That's kind of a way to think about it. So when you're giving feedback on a person's writing, just, understand that the questions that you ask are going to help them better their approach to whatever the topic is. It's also good to understand that, your work as you're receiving the criticism, it's not personal. The criticism itself is not personal, it's transactional. You're there for a reason. You're there to receive and to grow as you continue on the journey of writing. Constructive critiques, again, are intended to help you craft work that is elevated, that is living up to its highest potential. And that's why we are doing this. That's why we incorporated workshopping sessions into Conchas y Café zine, mostly because you all requested it, for those of you who are longtime members. So that is at least the purpose of the constructive criticism. There are certain vocabulary words that are important for us to kind of remember and to share. They include things like metaphor, simile, line break, stanza break, my favorite one, enjambment, repetition. These are all words, vocabulary words that you can use as part of the constructive criticism. When you're workshopping another person's work, be specific and say, this metaphor was working for me. I really liked it. And it's because it's doing this, this, and this within your piece. If you feel like the structure of someone's writing might benefit from a stanza break or from a line break, then feel free to say those things, right? The more specific you can be when you're pointing out things that are working or things that could be improved, the better. Yes, I love me some enjambments. There's also, in addition to the Spanish versions, there's also things like anaphora or epistrophe, alliteration. These are all things that are, common words that you might hear as we're talking about writing and about poetry, assonance and consonants. All of those things are related to sound and the way in which you hear the poetry performed. And then, of course, meter and rhyme, which most people kind of understand. And then it's really important, again, that we have good communication between us. So for those of you joining the program, you are always welcome to reach out to us if you have any kind of questions at any point. But it's also really useful for us to know if you're going to be absent for multiple days. The workshopping part of the lessons of the program, it really depends on you being there. So if you know you're going to be absent, please let us know. If you have any kind of questions about the lessons or about how to share work or whatever, let us know too. We're here to help you in as many ways as we can. The point of all of this is to just, get you as familiar as possible with all the tools that are available to you so that you can continue to use the tools that you already have and to grow in as many ways as possible through your writing. Also, this has happened in the past. If you have someone who you're talking to who might be interested in creative writing, you can always refer them to the program. But if you have, like, say, a reporter, for example, who is interested in talking to you about your participation in this program, but they haven't talked to me yet, let me know, right? Contact us and let us know that there are people who are showing interest and want to talk to us a little bit more about it. That way, the information that we're presenting to the world is correct and accurate. It's also really important to remember that as a participant in our programs, you are representing DSTL Arts and our mission. Remember, our mission is to inspire, teach, and hire emerging artists from underserved communities. So you're going to be serving as inspiration for other people as you participate through our program. You might even start teaching people. So it's really important that you not misrepresent our mission statement to the world, right? Just kind of live by what we do as an organization. Be there to inspire and to teach other people. If you, again, have the opportunity to talk about your involvement with your network, with other people, talk to us. Sometimes I have flyers or handouts that can be shared. That's always good for us to be able to talk about in advance. And always ask if you have questions, if you need something to be clarified, if you have any kind of confusion about any element of our program, please let us know. We're, again, here to support you in as many ways as we can as you become artists, who are fully working in the field with us. Because in the end, we actually see you as our peers. You, just like me, Abraham, Nancy, and Angie, we are all working artists, and maybe at different levels of our career in our life, but we're all artists. And last but not least, it's also really important to know that because we're artists, we do have our own side gigs. So if you want someone like Abraham to, do some photos for you, he has his own rates outside of DSTL Arts. So if you're going to hire one of us, just understand that our rates are not free. We do charge for our services. And DSTL Arts also does not accept unsolicited manuscripts for publication. There's people out there in the world who want to just get published, which is cool, which is great. And I have a lot of places where I can refer them. But in order to be published by DSTL Arts, you do have to participate in one of our programs in one way or another. Whether that be through submitting it to our call for submissions on Submittable, or for like our blog zine, that kind of thing. But it has to be very specific, and we have specific requirements for anything that is going to be submitted to us. So always reach out if you have questions about that, or refer people to me if they have questions about that. And I think that brings us to basically the end, where we say welcome. You're now part of our arts fam. For those of you who are returning, you've been part of the arts fam, and we appreciate you joining us again. If you again have any kind of questions about the program, about everything that we do, you can always reach out to us using Google Classroom. You can also find our email addresses here on the / page of the handout. It's generally going to be, our first name at dstlarts.org. And if you're following on social media, thank you. For anybody who is not following us, we're really trying to grow our audience, especially on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, follow DSTL Arts at DSTLARTS. I would really appreciate that. Help us get that audience up so that we can be able to, get more people viewing our feeds this way. So any questions? Yeah, just like Abraham said, we need to pay for our castle in Scotland. All right, I'll stop sharing there for now. Did anyone have any questions for us about the orientation? But to answer the question about theme, yes, the theme is out of place. Out of place is going to be interpreted a lot of different ways by us. Abraham, myself, and Angie are going to be developing the lessons over the course of the next 15 weeks. It's going to be a total of 6 different creative writing lessons with 6 different approaches to the idea of being out of place. If they're the final commandment, follow us on social media. Yeah, there you go. Help us make our dream of being influencers a reality. And for sure, have fun making art, as Abraham says. We are ultimately here to really just support you in your journey. And, it's our goal to, create poet influencers in all of you, to be our comrades in arms in that way. And so, yeah, I think, unless if there are no more questions, then, we'll kind of end our live stream there. Let's see. All right, good questions here I see in the chat. So out of place, can we explain that? Well, out of place can be interpreted in a few different ways, and that's actually what we're going to try and explain during the course of the series. But kind of what we were thinking about when we were discussing the theme, it was the fact that, some people who, look like us, who act like us, who speak like us, we have, especially in Spanish, we have a phrase that says, ni de aquí, ni de allá, meaning you're not really from here and you're not really from there. You're kind of in the middle. And so we want to explore the idea of the tension between being in a place but not belonging to a place. And so That's something that we're going to explore. And like I said, we're going to explore it in a few different ways. The theme itself is sort of general on purpose, because we want you to explain how it makes you feel, what you think, how you interpret the idea of being out of place. And to answer Alicia's question, are we still able to invite people that might be interested in the workshop? Absolutely. You can invite people to join by sending them the website. Again, it's distilarts.org/Conchas y Café zine. Let me actually, there you go. I just pasted it. Thank you, Abraham. Pasted it too. So it's in the chat there. So definitely send people the link, and they can find the registration code for Google Classroom and a link to actually activate their Google Classroom account as well. And for those who are joining on the Instagram Live, again, you can still join the class by visiting the link that's on the pinned comment there on Instagram Live. And for those who joined in through the live stream on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, of course, the link is there as well. Yeah, thank you. And for everyone else joining in on the live stream, I want to say thank you once again. This session is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel in about a day or so. And it will then also be posted to our Google Classroom. So that way you can download the handout that was presented as part of the orientation, and you can watch the video recording as well. That way you can get caught up and just be sure that you have all the information that everybody else got.